Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Ella. Today I'm going to be walking you through how I created this soft contour makeup look using some of my favorite products. If you're interested in seeing how I achieve this look, then please keep watching. So to begin this soft contour, I'm going to be starting out by applying the actual contour to help sculpt the face. There are two options. If you are a little bit more fair toned, you could use the Westman Atelier contour stick. I have the shade Biscuit. Or for this video in particular, I'm going to be using the Tom Ford. And I have the intensity 1 here, and you'll see why this works a little bit better in a second. So I'm just gonna dip into the product and go just slightly above the cheekbone because we will be blending this product, and I like to do the sides here of my forehead as well as my forehead. If your forehead is on the smaller side, then you don't need to do the top, you could just do the sides. And I really like to kind of chisel my jaw, especially focusing right here. You can just see how it snatches the face. My nose. And I like to go on top of my eyelids. Now for concealer, I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Full Filter Concealer. I have the shade Meringue, and just apply where you would want to bring light. For me, that is always under the eyes, because I get dark circles, and I like to brighten up this area here and a tiny bit right there. So this technique, basically what it does is, after you're finished applying your contour and your concealer, you would go in with your foundation. Today I'm using the Surratt Beauty Foundation, the Dewdrop, and I have the shade 5. And I'm just gonna use my foundation brush and get some of the foundation on there. Not a lot. I mean, the Dewdrop foundation in general is very sheer, and I've only used a pump. So I'm gonna start by applying it here where I have very little concealer. And then we're gonna start by blending the concealer. So you want to blend everywhere where is light first. And then I'm gonna grab the tiniest amount more of the foundation. You can see how little I'm using here. And now we're gonna begin to blend out the contour. And you get to see in real time, I have so much natural light peeking through the window right now, on how soft and diffused this makes the contour look. It makes it look a lot softer than if you were to apply foundation, concealer, and then go in with your contour. And I like to blend out my complexion products slowly, gently into the hairline. I don't mind doing a little bit on this side and then going back and touching up. Over here, I like to stretch it down, but also get some on this area here because it really just pulls the face together. And then of course we stretch down to the neck. And to touch up on around my eyes here, the foundation brush that I was using is a little bit too big, so I'm just using a clean concealer brush just to get into those little crevices on my under eye area. And then I'm going to blend out around my nose. And looking at myself in the mirror I have a window just here so I can see the way that my makeup looks in natural light, which is my absolute favorite way to do my makeup, because you just can't beat the way that the sun makes your face look. And plus I feel like it helps me to know exactly what I'm gonna look like when I'm going outside. And you can see that the contour is so soft. It's almost seamless. It's a lot less harsh than if you were to go with foundation, concealer, and then do the contour. So we're not finished yet, but I just want you to see how beautiful that looks. For the last step, I'm gonna contour my lips because I absolutely love to do that. And for this step, I'm gonna be using the Westman Atelier. You can use, if you're using the Tom Ford, you can go ahead and use that again. I'm absolutely obsessed with contouring my lips with the Westman Atelier contour stick. And now for the next step, I'm going to powder my face. And I'm using the ByTerry Hyaluronic Hydra powder. And I'm gonna be using a face puff. And the reason why I'm using a face puff is because it really shows just how powerful this powder is. If I like to go a lot lighter, especially on the outside of my face, then I like to use a brush like this. And before I set down my under eye area, I always like to make sure that there's no creases, because then you will just set the crease down. So once I get the product on my powder puff, I actually like to dust it off, and you can see all that powder come off. And it also helps to evenly distribute it on my powder puff. And then I go in on my under eye area, my T-zone, which does tend to get a little bit oily throughout the day. And I feel like setting my face with the powder puff there just prevents the oil from coming through a lot faster than it normally would. And now, just using a little bit more product, I'm going to powder my entire face. And you can see that this contour is so soft. You can literally stop right here, just put on a little bit of mascara, and I feel like you're good to go. But if you wanted to take it up a notch and just almost zhuzh it up a little bit, if you'd say, then we're going to be using another product to help bring everything together. So to help contour a little bit further but do it in a softer way, you wouldn't be using bronzer. It is completely different. You would be using a contour shade, which is usually a lot less bronzy, and it's a little bit more kind of grayish, if you will. So what I'm going to be using from the Charlotte Tilbury palette, this is the Nudegasm palette, and I like to use this shade right here, which is the Super Sculpt Color Intense. And because of, you can see that this is more of a bronzier shade, and this is the contour. So to use this, I'm actually going to be using a really small fluffy brush. This one is from Real Techniques, and it's the setting brush. And I'm just going to work it into this shade here. And then just going back to where we applied the initial contour, just underneath the cheekbone here, very little product, and just working it in to intensify that contour a little bit more. With a very light hand, You can see the difference between this side and that side. It just gives your cheeks a little bit more depth. And just doing the exact same thing here. And if you want to bring in the face more, then you can use this product right here as well. You can see with such a light hand, very gently, this looks so beautiful, timeless. Again, as I said, just eyebrows, a little bit of mascara. I love when the complexion looks really good. I feel like there's very little work left to do everywhere else on the face. And I'm going to be using a tiny bit more to do my nose, focusing on the tip for myself personally, because that's where I like to contour my nose the most. And then with whatever's left on my brush, I can just bring it up. And I like to do it on my eyelids too, because it gives me a lot of depth and definition, and I feel like after that step I can just skip the eyeshadow altogether. And just setting around the lips. So really that is the end of the soft contour, and you can see how beautiful it looks. If you'd like to apply blush at this stage, you can. I actually saw Andrea Lee, which is one of my favorite YouTubers, and she inspired me to make this video. I also saw Mary Phillips use this method a lot. I know that it's been used for a very long time, but what Andrea Lee did is she went in with the Hourglass Ambient palette and she kind of brought the whole look together. I actually don't have that palette. After watching how beautiful her makeup looked after using that, I will definitely be purchasing it. But for myself today, I'm just going to be adding a little bit of blush because I absolutely love blush and I feel like I need it. So for my blush, I'm going to be using the Giorgio Armani. I have the shade 52 and I'm going to be applying very little. I like to put some on the back of my hand, and if you'd like to apply your blush very sheer, then a beauty blender is a great way to do that. So what I do is I kind of work it into my beauty blender and then I keep almost like blotting it off, so you're left with very little product. And I just apply the smallest amount. Like, I'm not even sure if the camera will be able to catch it. But because this blush is very natural looking, it's almost like a stain, if you will, and it doesn't have any sheerness to it. It goes on pretty naturally. There's no micro glitters in there. It's not very dewy. Like, it's just very basic that, again, I'm not sure if the camera can catch it, but it just comes together very beautifully. So I'm going to throw on some mascara, a little bit of lip liner, and I'll be right back. So I am back. I just threw on some mascara and a little bit of lipstick, and I'm absolutely obsessed with the way that this technique has made my face a lot more softer, very subtle, and at the same time beautifully sculpted. I really enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.